So, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Anna Afonso, dear colleague Friedel Cramer, dear colleagues, I'm happy that you're here in Berlin. As you know, there is a special air in Berlin. We have a march on this. When you inhale it, it will change your mood and your attitude, and you feel as a better person. So thank you that you came to the BfR here in the south of Berlin to a quite interesting topic, superfoods and supplements. The term superfood was first mentioned in the mid-80s, but has become talk of the town in recent years. The global superfood market was valued at 137 billion euros in 2020, and it is expected to reach almost 210 billion in 2026. But when it comes to defining these terms and the science behind it, has become rather vague, and there is often disagreement to what superfood is. It is commonly defined as food that increases energy and vitality, regulates cholesterol and blood pressure, and may help you to prevent or fight cancer or other diseases. You also find that superfood strengthens the immune system or supports weight loss. Overall, superfood seems to work wonders. And it seems that if you eat superfood, you will stay healthy, fit, and young, and when you will die healthy. Hit lists of superfoods include both exotic and native foods. You will find blueberries, cranberries, kale, broccoli, nuts, seeds, and herbs on those lists, but you may also find magnesium, CBD oil, plant extracts, for example, from pepper or turmeric. So when we talk about superfood, we should keep in mind that not only traditional food, but also supplements may be marketed as superfoods. In spite of the fact that there is no precise definition of superfood, all so-called superfood is considered rich in vitamins, minerals, and other substances such as fiber, secondary plant compounds, and essential fatty acids. Superfood is also considered beneficial to human health. However, the questions are whether the designation super is justified and what consumers expect from superfood. The BfR has conducted a survey on consumers' understanding and perception of superfoods and found that there are sex and age-specific perceptions of superfood, but overall people who place particular importance on the health-promoting diet or pay attention, who place particular importance on on products, are more likely to reach for products labeled as superfood. Moreover, these people thought that there were almost no health risk associated with superfood. From other research, we know that consumers are ready to pay a higher price for food promoted as superfoods, and that superfood is associated with sustainable production of processing, or with a certain taste, or even with a certain color. By the way, the fact that many consumers associate blue and purple with better health has led on an extreme increase in the demand for purple and blue colored food in recent years. By making claims about the effect of superfood, sales have drastically increased. Moreover, many consumers believe that botanical dietary supplements will improve their health and free from unwanted health effects, whereas manufacturers are very inventive in producing such supplements, thereby often ignoring that eating grapes or drinking wine is different from taking supplements that contain resveratrol or grape seed extract. So at least Mother Nature is good. In the vast majority of cases, potential health effects and risk of superfood have not been studied and assessed through a formal evaluation by BfR or even EFSA or worldwide. Besides, risk assessment and of botanicals are often hampered by a lack of data. Sometimes when you look in internet, you will find some plant product and you will not even know what kind of species it is, and you don't know, is it an alcoholic or is it is it a water extract or watery extract, or is it from a leaf or from bark, whatever. So the vast majority, beside risk assessments, we simply don't know it. A superfood, as especially supplements marketed as superfood, presents great challenges to risk assessment, risk management, and risk communication. BfR will carry on tackling these challenges actively and will engage in risk assessment and consumer protection. Having said this, I'm very pleased to welcome you today to our 2-day event, which aims at providing an overview on superfood and supplements from various perspectives. Yeah, we have to state that after 2 years of COVID break, that we are pleased, to welcome you here to this event in our lecture hall. We are not yet back to what we called normality before COVID. We will never go back there again, because only about less than half of the registered participants are here on the site. So hi at internet. No matter which way you choose to participate, a warm welcome to all of you who has joined us today. So, as a scientist, looking at the agenda, I'm sure that by the end of the 2 days, we will know more about whether superfoods are really super and prima, but also what health risks they pose, especially in the form of supplements, and what challenges this poses for the risk assessment, but also for the risk management and communication. So I would like to thank all speakers and participants who will contribute to this event with presentations, expertise, as well with questions and discussion. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is an event performed by 2 twins. It's by BfR and BVL, our twin sister, the Management Authority of Germany. So I offer my best wishes for a successful event and hand over now to the President of the BVL, the Federal German Office for Consumer Protection and Food Safety, Friedel Cramer. Please.
Dear Professor Hensel, lieber Andreas, firstly, thank you very much for hosting our joint event in your premises. Dear Ms. Anna Alfonso from EFSA, dear colleagues from EU member states, from EU institutions, from third countries, but last not least from federal and state institutions, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and my honor to also welcome you on the spot and remote to the joint symposium of the Federal Office of Consumer Protection and Food Safety, BVL, and the Federal Institute for Risk Assessment, BfR. It is super to have you with us today. Together, we want to discuss whether the so-called superfoods and supplements are more risky or more healthy. And I'm pleased about the great scientific as well public interest in the event from so many different countries and around the world. And of course, I'm also pleased and honored that we were able to attract so many competent speakers, international speakers for this event. Thank you very much for your support. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this year, the Federal Office of Consumer Protection and Food Safety and the Federal Institute for Risk Assessment are celebrating their 20th anniversary. In 2002, as a result of the BSE crisis, at the time, consumer health protection in Germany was restricted. The main objective was to separate risk assessment and risk management along the food chain. The Federal Office of Consumer Protection and Food Safety was founded as a competent federal authority for risk management in this field of work. For risk assessment, the BfR has been established at the same time, and since these days, we act as sister authorities or twin authorities. In the very first days, BVL started at a place in Bonn with 24 employees in an open plan office within the Federal Ministry of Food, Agriculture and Consumer Protection. Today, we are a modern service-oriented authority with more than 830 employees. In Berlin and Braunschweig, our colleagues are working on food safety and crisis management, on the authorization processes for plant protection products, veterinary medicines, genetic engineering projects, and by other biotechnological processes, export requirements of food and feed, the standardization of analytical methods and resistance to antibiotics, and we are running several reference laboratories at the place here in Berlin and in Braunschweig. For details, I invite you to visit our homepage. The subject-specific organization of today's event has been taken over by the unit General Affairs and Food, situated in BVL's Department Food Safety. Thanks to all colleagues who contributed to the event and including our event management. The work of this department covers many different focal points relating to food and is divided into three groups: food chain safety, food crisis management, and strategic management. The unit General Affairs and Food mainly deals with the legal issues related to foodstuff, which by definition also include food supplements. This covers, of course, these so-called superfoods. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, new nutrition trends often suggest healthy benefits to consumers. They are popping up all the time. One of these nutrition trends, which has been actively promoted for years, are the so-called superfoods, suggesting a great, outstanding quality. Again and again, in this course, healthy promoting characteristics are attributed to predominantly exotic food, which frequently exhibit a high portion of vitamins and/or minerals, as well as secondary plant metabolites. Amongst these exotic foods are acai and goji berries, maca, chia seeds, and many more, Increasingly, food supplements containing so-called superfoods are also advertised. Within the EU, there are almost no specific legal provisions, in particular, no specifications for maximum amount for the addition of so-called other substances than vitamins and minerals, including botanical substances. Products containing such substances often gives rise to notifications to the European Rapid Alert System for Food and Feed. Examples often include CBD and other unauthorized novel foods or medicinal products. Regulations for certain other substances are on the horizon, but so far do not exist for the vast majority of these substances. Consequently, only general food law applies here, in particular Article 14 of the Regulation 178 of 2002, according to which foods are unsafe may not be placed on the market. However, these abstract general regulations are not always interpreted uniformly by EU member states, authorities, nor by the 16 federal states at national level in Germany. Therefore, food law is very often interpreted and applied differently by competent authorities for enforcement, and, as a consequence, time-consuming coordination processes within and between enforcement authorities are necessary. Harmonization at EU level is limited due to huge workload. To support this work, the European heads of food agencies established a working group, Food Supplements. Due to potential health risk of some substances, this working group is currently developing a list of substances which nutritional or physiological effects, such as plants, fungi, and algae, which should not be used or used under restrictions in or as food, including food supplements. This working group is chaired by Germany and the Netherlands, and we will hear presentations on this in session 2 of our event. Some of these so-called superfoods continue to pose legal challenges to regulatory agencies. On the one hand, there is a lack of legal definition of superfood, and products are frequently advertised with health claims. On the other hand, there is a lack of scientific basis as that clearly proves or disproves the advertised positive effects. Many of these superfoods are offered with unsupportable promises, very often online. In such cases, the competent authorities are claimed, in particular, if the products contain risks to human health. It is our aim to discuss amongst experts how to best address these challenges. Today's session will give a general overview on so-called superfoods. Afterwards, the current market development and the legal aspects will be highlighted. The session will be rounded by a presentation on consumer perceptions of superfoods, which also provide an outlook for the second day of the event. In session 2 tomorrow, regulatory aspects will be presented in more detail. First, the novel food status of some superfoods will be considered. Especially for exotic plants and plant substances, often no significant consumption is known before 1997. Accordingly, these are to be considered novel foods and may not be marketed without a prior approval by an EU authorization process. In the following presentation, the list of substances elaborated by the federal government, the federal states, as well as Austria and Switzerland, the head of food safety agencies, and finally, pharmacologically active substances in products sold as food supplements will be discussed. The first day will be concluded with a presentation on borderline products. With these products, it is not always clear whether they have to be classified as food or medicinal products. Tomorrow's second part of the event will focus mainly on aspects of risk assessment, consumer perceptions, and nutri-vigilance. Let's look forward to a varied program to talks and inspiring discussions following the presentations. And I'm glad that I now can hand over to Katja Nelissen, who will guide us through the next 2 days. Thank you very much for your attention.